Hello, my friends. That is those people out there who care about the world that they live in and look at the world and they're like, oh my gosh, what is going on sometimes? Yeah, this place is pretty crazy because there's a bunch of people claiming to know that they know. And there's a bunch of people claiming that they need to change, this person or that person, this ideology. Oh my gosh, I'm right, you're wrong. It's the internet. This is this world of so much mass media and distractions. And we all feel it. We all know the problems. Oh my gosh, the prices are rising. Oh my gosh, there might be an economic collapse. Oh my gosh, the food shortages that happened a couple years ago may happen again. I mean, there's a bunch of fears and traumas people are still facing, and perhaps even generationally. There's a lot of overcoming that is involved. Discipline, let's utilize this opportunity to really invoke that part of ourselves that says we can be more than this. We have the power to change our reality. And even better, this generation that I'm in, I'm 24, and I have a lot of folks who are way older than me. I mean, gosh, we have the power to really change the future, and I'm afraid my own generation doesn't see this power that they have within them, which is something that I need to inspire and empower about. I'm definitely not going to do it on this channel because, let's be honest, this content isn't going to probably get out there. It's probably not going to go viral. I mean, it's like you're gambling basically at a certain point, with especially the mainstream algorithms. I mean, it'd be great, right, to get a message out there so people recognize their own value, their own purpose and meaning. You can look at the book, The Search for Meaning by, I think his name is Victor, right? And he talks about his whole experience with like Nazi Germany and all these other problems that happened in the world not so long ago. And he talks about this idea of, well, how do prisoners and slaves and people who are oppressed, how do they overcome that? Well, they overcome it by gathering inspiration, gathering energy. And you look at something like soma therapy, which is amazing, by the way. This is a therapy that was invented literally for people to free their minds, but it's done through work, like not through work, the opposite, play and, interacting with others and their emotions, right? Not that mechanical, materialistic, consumerist world, but that world of expression and creativity of like building bonds between people. Like, that's super cool. And lately I'm doing a lot of networking. I'm meeting a lot of people in person. That's where things have to shift. People have to really get involved with others in real life if they're afraid of things going down. I mean, complaining to the internet, complaining online is not going to likely help something. But that gets me to my main point, because of course I'm going on a tangent, which is, well, I guess the whole point of these videos anyways. What you live by, you die by. Are you eating processed food? How long will you live? Right? That's another question, right? How long you will live. But it's also what you will die by. It's what you're known for. And back in ancient times, there was this idea of, let's say, purity or innocence or corruption. And people still have different terms for that nowadays. Of course, there's this idea of the natural versus the unnatural, which is a main theme in my work. And that sort of reflects the same ideal, which is like, are we working with nature or are we fighting it? Are we not working with nature to the point where we have all these diseases? We don't know who we are. Our brain can barely function. Nothing is working properly. It's not that we should not use technology. It's not that we should be against the man-made things, but rather we need to learn, are they helping our nature or are they against our nature? Are we really learning from the world we live in and using the tools to our advantage, but not becoming the tools of our tools, not getting corrupted by the tools that we're using to the point where it's harming us when we created it to actually help us? See, it's this counterintuitive solution. And we find ourselves in that trap, right? It's a trap. It's a deception. Time to time, with perhaps many different foods we may think are healthy, but they're not. And perhaps even ideas, belief systems that we think are true, but are not. And this requires introspection. This requires reflection. So when I say that what you live by is what you die by, it makes you ponder, well, what am I going to die by? Am I going to die with faith and courage, with being that person who always did their best, who always strived for better, who is always making connections with others, building bonds, doing the best they can, good intentions, even if they may have done some things wrong, they admitted to it, right? Are you that type of person? Because I certainly try to be the best I can be. And of course, me saying that through the internet is not really going to do much, right? But you taking that message and putting it into your own life through action is. And that's what we say this is for, although some people will put on a show online and they're not actually following through actions, right? When I talk about growing food, I actually grow food, even though it gets flooded here in Florida and we had a crocodile in our backyard. I live by and die by the fact that I take risks every day, and that nature will take its course. So be it, right? I flow like the waves. I live by and die by that flow, because I'm not going to die by that person who was so stuck in their ways that nobody can talk to them, that nobody can reason with them, right? That idea of what am I living by? If, let's be a little bit more practical, let's say I do talk about content creators and people online. Some people make their living talking about politics all day, okay? I'm a right winger, I'm a left winger, this is my position. That's what they're going to be known for after their death, right? They're going to be known for those positions. And therefore, any change that happens, which, by the way, there's been literally thousands of regimes on this earth, thousands of different governments of all different kinds. We're not talking about somebody 2,000 years ago, unless they're a philosopher or an inventor or a scientist. Well, why is that? Because they shared ideas that were universal and timeless. And this political content creator is just sharing something in the moment. They're capitalizing on a sensation, on an ideology or something that's just not going to last, because people evolve and notions change, ideas change. So I also recognize that there are some things that I talk about that are not going to last, but I also admit to the fact that me, myself, am not going to last. But by becoming aware of that, you tap into your strength to see those things that can last much longer, that can make a big difference in this world. I did say philosophers, scientists, inventors, right? They're amazing. And a lot of people may have been very resistant to their ideas in the moment. And they may have only been famous after their death, but that's what they were known for, because they were living the solution. The question is always what you're living. And you may not be living a great life now, but you may be living a great life in the afterlife, in the sense of that's the contribution you gave to humanity. And when you take life into consideration of your actions, your consequences, what you're putting out into the world, you are essentially changing the world. We're making history every day. It's not that we have to look at the past, stay in the future. What's going to happen? That's going to keep us in fear and anxiety, depression. But the present keeps us focused. It keeps us in the now. This is the real time, right? And it's really without time. It's without even this idea of self. I mean, it's being able to transcend that and being able to see this holistic picture and seeing that we're one with nature or one with this reality. I mean, there's many different ways people have said it, and some of it sounds spiritual and metaphysical and like, dude, what are you going on about? But the point is that you see there's a value and meaning in life, that there's something much more to attain. And when you ponder upon that question, it's like, what am I living by? Am I going to enjoy myself eating those junk foods, right? But am I going to die by disease early on and everybody's going to be sad because they don't know how I got cancer? And then, there's kids that can't grow up with certain knowledge that you had because you died early. Or you weren't able to do what you wanted to do in life because you died early. And unless you don't have those aspirations. But why don't you have those aspirations? Do you want to be known as that person who doesn't have those aspirations? I know this might get a little deep on some people, but if you were to ask yourself, the purpose, the meaning of life, right? Maybe ask yourself the meaning of death. Think about the opposite. I have a video talking about that. It's like, you want to know what to do. Well, think about what you don't do. I mean, not to hurt, steal, trespass, and so on. And that tells you then what you can do. And in the same way, that there's might be a bunch of agencies and government corporations and, people out there with certain interests that want you to be sick and want you to not really think for yourself. So you say, okay, I'm going to do the opposite, and that's how I'm going to be healthy, and that's how I'm going to see what potential alternatives there are. Because when I see the alternatives and I make the choice for myself, I'm more empowered when it comes to my own health. I'm more free. I'm not free if somebody's telling me how to think and telling me how to live and telling me what to consume, right? So, do you want to die free, or do you want to die a slave? Just read the many quotes from abolitionists and former slaves and even psychologists and revolutionaries and see. Liberty or death. I would rather be dead than have slavery. You know, it's like, this is the type of thing Frederick Douglass said. This is the type of thing Mahatma Gandhi said. This is the type of thing a lot of the visionaries said. And you have to ask yourself why that is. They saw a purpose of passion beyond life. You look at the pictures of Plato and Aristotle, and they're pointing up to the sky. Even Socrates, they're pointing up to the sky. What does that mean? They're looking up something higher. Socrates willing to die for his beliefs. Jesus willing to die for his beliefs. What are they looking at? What are they saying that their true life is? Maybe it's not this life. Maybe it's life itself. Because we are interconnected. We are part of this reality. Who's to say that, we're kind of separate in the sense, and that we don't share something with one another? We certainly do. You can understand this message right now, don't you? There's beauty in that unity, because we might get divided. And we can't see that bigger picture, that interconnectedness. Of course, I am a little biased talking about Taoism and Eastern philosophy, where it talks about that idea of getting rid of that egoic self and being able to see your connectedness with others. But in a world where we're always trying to compartmentalize everything and for scientific purposes, to study all the different parts and then claim that we know something, we then find out later that we don't know something. Such as the fact for many thousands of years, people thought certain people are actually inferior to others just because of their skin color, not realizing it's simply because of sun exposure. And simple little things like that can trip scientists and philosophers for ages, and they just take it for granted. Aristotle and Plato thought that slavery was so natural and part of life, they didn't even question the reality without it. It's like that formed into all their belief systems of government and everything. Like it was just ingrained. There was not a single speck of question. I mean, Mark Twain said he grew up and not a single person questioned slavery whatsoever. It wasn't even a spark of possibility that it could be wrong. Like, could you imagine that? Because now we take it for granted that it's right. And we don't even think about if it's wrong because we don't have it. We don't have it anymore, right? So it's like when you're healthy, you don't think about health. When you have the truth, you don't think about truth. But when you have life and you have true purpose and meaning, you don't think about perhaps death. You don't think about suicide. You're not thinking about some of these questions I'm proposing, which is why I don't talk about much on my channel. But that's not necessarily the question I'm proposing. I'm saying what you live by is what you die by. Okay, so I'm saying that there's an interconnectedness between life and death, naturally. And that this sort of just happens on its own, whether you recognize it consciously or not. But when you tap into it consciously, you help yourself understand your role, your contribution to humanity. Ask yourself what you are doing for the greater good of humanity. Do you have a job, and do you have a great job, a great work that you're doing? That is there something that you're not just doing for yourself, for your own family, for your own wishes and ego, but are you doing something that can help the world? Are you doing something that can transform lives to come? I mean, people say, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse. So you're helping individual people. That's great. But what about the world? I mean, there are big problems affecting many people. Why? Maybe instead of an individualized approach, we have to change the fabric of society, perhaps the culture, right? Perhaps, we have to do that through music and art. I mean, we could see how that can change generations of time. Perhaps we need to inspire, empower people to become, who they want to be rather than, what they think they have to be. And then we'll see a whole spark of creativity because people have all sorts of artistic abilities they don't know they have until they start doing it. And they say, well, how did you get this successful? Well, this person or this idea, this one thing, this little spark of light. Every action you take makes a big difference. Nothing happens without some sort of cause. I mean, we may say things are random in this world, but there still is some sort of cause. There still is some sort of order within the chaoticness. That is the beauty of it. The fact that we're all unique that every tree is unique, but it's still a tree, that we're all unique, we're all still human beings, where we see there's unity and division. We see that the interconnectedness in the division, the lack of connectedness. And unless we see both the ebb and flow, right, the flow of life generally, we are unable to navigate. So I'm asking you to navigate your life by looking at this side of death and seeing it as part of life. So you're not really questioning death. You're not questioning life. You're simply living presently. And you're not thinking about the past or the future. You're simply thinking now, what am I doing now? I mean, it doesn't help to think about the past. That's already happened. The future, you don't know, and that depends on the present. So just think about the present. Think about what you're doing. Ask yourself that type of meaning. What does it mean to you? Do you not care about getting healthy? Do you not care about what's going on in the world? I don't blame you if you don't care about what's going on in the world, because you may think it's, out of your league, out of your impact. But the people who are crazy enough to think it is in their impact, they change the world the most, and everybody's now living in the conditions that they created. So I'm not saying that you need to have on your high and mighty egoic title of yourself to say, I can change the world, but why would you complain if you do have the power to change the world? And being that you do, if you choose to get enough people with you, if you choose to utilize the skills which you can absolutely learn and invoke, because you have the power to speak and the power to act, and you have knowledge at your fingertips, ask yourself, what are you willing to die for? And that means, what are you willing to live for? And if you're willing to live for love and life and nature and beauty, because you see this is what life is about, fun, play, then make that part of your life and make that known for others who don't have that, because it will be more than life to them. You will literally revive them from the dead. They will say they're born again as people go into religion, and it revives their spirit because they have a sense of community and belonging that they were missing before. Just using that as an example. People go to ideologies and different ways of thinking because they're looking for something more. They don't need to necessarily go to that thing. They can have you. They can have your ideas. They can have people who are outsiders who simply are there, present, supportive. And you are smart. You are intelligent. You have great ideas. It doesn't depend on me. It doesn't depend on any content creator. You have it. So utilize it. Thank you very much for watching. What you live by is what you die by. Remember that. If you're living on your phone, that's what you're going to die by, the phone. If you're living as a content creator, because I didn't finish that point, attacking other people for a living, well, that's what you're going to be known for. And you may end up losing your career because someone's going to end up attacking you because you were pointing fingers all day. So it was inevitably going to come back to you. What you put out is going to come back to you. So if you live by death because you are in the army and you're fighting other people, it's going to come back to you in the form of trauma. And that's what you're going to die by. So make your choices wisely, because you are going to die by the very things you live by. This is not a threat. It is simply a call for consciousness in the present. Had to say that several times. Hope to make it clear. Thank you very much for watching. Nature is the answer, Corey Angelat. One last thing, this phrase I came up with based on that phrase you may have heard, live by the sword, die by the sword. So originally perhaps a military reference or a reference with an obsession with, guns and trying to defend ourselves. Like, why are we defending ourselves in the first place? Why is that? If we live by these reactions, then we're going to be always in that mode and operation of fight or flight mode. And we're never actually going to live, right? We're living by something, by some reaction, by what we think we got to live by. But in reality, we're not free. We're holding ourselves back. So, this is also another analogy for nonviolence, for non-resistance, for applying peaceful principles, civil disobedience, nonviolent resistance. And if you live by your phone, you're consumed by it, you're not going to see the outside world. So really take this into consideration. Thank you for watching.